my name is Jeff. Welcome back to my channel and my workshop. Today's video is going to feature the building, some detailing and weathering of an Accurail 40-foot refrigerator car for Brewing Corporation of America. This was a kit that was produced by Accurail for Trainfest in 2019. If you're not familiar with Trainfest, it's a train show held in Milwaukee, Wisconsin, and has been annually for many years. It used to be put on by the Wise division. The last couple of shows were put on by Columbuck Publishing. This video is not sponsored. I purchased the kit at the show back in 2019. It's been sitting on my shelves waiting to be assembled. I thought this would be a good time to do it. So let's take a quick look at the finished model and then I'll show you how we got there. Okay, so this is the finished car. You'll notice that it's slightly weathered and fully assembled. It has also been weighted appropriately, and we'll go over all of this. It's lettered for Brewing Corporation of America and their Carling's Red Cap Canadian Ale. So, and it's car number 60308. And as we open the box, we can see we've got the car body, which includes the sides and the ends. We have a sprue with coupler covers and brake gears and pins for holding the trucks on, which we will not use. We'll use the screws that are also going to be included. A bag that includes the trucks, wheel sets, screws, and a sprue with the Accumate couplers on it. The protective wrapping paper, and inside of it is the steel weight to add weight to the car. The instruction sheet. And the instruction sheet is taped to it. Taped to the instruction sheet is a metal piece of brass rod that'll be used for the brake staff if we install it as it was designed, and a sprue with the fish belly center sills and the floor. The first thing we're going to do is we're going to set the weight in the bag of parts along with the coupler covers and the body back inside the box, and we're going to remove the floor from the sprue. To do that, I like to use flush cutting sprue nippers, and you always want to make sure you have the flush side facing your piece, and then you can just come in and snip the pieces off to remove them. I'm going to start with the base. And then I'm going to use a sanding stick. This one is a 320 grit to just file off any nubs that are left. A couple of quick passes. I can run my fingernail over just to make sure it's smooth. If this one isn't taking it down, we can go to a rougher grit, like this 180 grit. And then finish it off with the 320 grit. On the sides, you want to be careful. You don't want to knock down the cells, but you do want to make sure you don't have any pieces left from the sprue. And then we're going to repeat this other end, particularly at the coupler box. We want to make sure we get that nice and smooth so it doesn't interfere with the couplers once we install them. And check that side as well. Now, I'd like to modernize these cars because I modeled the 1950s. And I do that with some pre-cut plastic strips. This is 020 or 010 by 030 styrene strip that I've cut into strips designed to fit into the channel on the car. Okay, with the Reservoir Remov, we're going to test fit it, and we're going to look closely, and we can see that the mounting bracket is a half moon bracket, and you can see that as well on the reservoir. So we want to turn it so that it'll fit in. And then just test fit to make sure it fits in. Don't force it. If you can't get it in easily, take your sanding stick and smooth it out a little bit. Okay, and once you've got it test fitted in, before you glue it in, I like to take a pin, just a standard push pin, and right above the new underframe belly, I like to poke a hole here and here. Now we can remove it. Pull it straight out. And then using a number 78 drill bit in a pin vise, we're going to find our holes that we started with the push pin. And we're going to drill this out. Let the drill bit do the work. You just want to get it so you're inside the reservoir, because we're going to install some wires on there to act as the piping. Okay, well, while I was gone, I drilled holes not only in the air reservoir, the two in that, but also one in the back of the cylinder and 3 into the valve. And then I added 0.0125 brass wire that I glued in using Eileen's tacky glue. And I did that off camera because it's very small and was very difficult to see what I was doing when trying to film it. But you can see the results here. With this done, I'm not going to add levers and rods and brake line rods to the bolsters, only because I find that they tend to get in the way of the trucks and fall off easily. But this, at least when the car is done, will give it the appearance that there is some brake gear there, brake piping there. So the next step on here is going to be to paint, and to do that I just use a wooden paint stick that I picked up at my local hardware store. These are free usually, and I wrap tape on it, and I start by putting it on sticky side onto the wood, and then fold it back and wrap it around so that it is sticky side out, and then I can tear it off, and then I can attach this on here, and that will allow me to spray the underframe on here. But one thing I want to do before I paint it is going to be to install the coupler box covers. Okay, so for the coupler pockets, just like we did with the brake gear, I removed them from this sprue, and I'm just sanding down the nub on the end so it'll sit flush. Do that on both of these. You can see there's a little bit of a nub there. If I can get the camera to focus. We can sand it down till, not quite. Couple of quick passes until it feels nice and smooth. There's still a little bit of a lump on there. Now we're set. The screws are located in this bag with the other parts. So we'll just open that. Okay, with the coupler cover held in place, we can insert the screw and then very carefully get the screwdriver on. And screw it down. We want to look at it, make sure we've got that screw tight enough. We don't want that coupler to twist on us while we're painting, because we want to make sure we don't get paint into the box, but we also don't want to overdo it and strip the holes on the other in the coupler box. So then we just repeat on the opposite side. Okay, so with the coupler covers on place, we can attach this to the paint stick, and it's ready to go and get painted. I'm also going to paint the truck frames at the same time, and I have I'm also going to paint the truck frames at the same time. I have these pieces of dowel that I've sharpened in a pencil sharpener, and it allows me to mount the truck onto it. But before I do that, I want to get the plastic wheels installed. When I build a model, a car, I like to use metal wheel sets. So we will change these after the truck is painted. But the plastic wheel sets are good to mask the journals so that we don't get paint into them. So we can take the stick now and just insert it. And I like to press and give it a little bit of a twist just so it sits in place. And then we can get the plastic wheels on the other one. Once everything's painted, we will replace these plastic wheel sets with Intermountain 33-inch metal wheel sets. I like them. They give a better, metal wheels are more free rolling and don't collect dirt. So I'm going to now take all of this outside and give it a good coat of a grimy black. I'm using a Rust-Oleum Painter's Touch 2X slate in a rattle can, which works really well for me. I'll be right back. All right, back from the paint shop. We've got the trucks and the underframe set. We're going to start by working on the underframe. We're going to remove the coupler covers. And install our couplers. Once the coupler is installed, we want to tighten down the screw, but we want to make sure that it's loose enough that the coupler swings freely in the pocket and recenters itself. With the trucks, before we install them, I want to do a little bit of painting. So we are going to get these springs painted. It's a lot easier to weather them before they're installed on the car. Okay, while painting the trucks, I've got a little bit of paint on, just using the bottom of a cup. I want to get some on my brush, just dab off a little bit, because I want to be very careful to make sure that I just touch the springs. And let the paint flow in there. And as you can see, we just get it on the springs, and then we can set this one to dry, grab the other one. And again, I'm getting a little bit of paint on the brush and dabbing a lot of it off on the cup, because I don't want too much paint in there. Flip it around. And do the same thing on the other side. We'll add more weathering when we're done. Now you'll notice I still have the trucks from the plastic wheel sets in there, and that's fine because we're still working with paint, but I do have metal wheel sets that I'm going to replace these with. Okay, now that the paint has dried on the side frames, we can remove the plastic wheel sets, and these are just going to be discarded. And then we're going to ream the cup. I'm going to ream out the journals so that these will be smooth rolling. This will also remove any paint that got stuck inside of them that didn't get blocked by the older wheel set. And flip the truck around. Number 2. Okay, with that done, with the wheel sets installed, we can then install the trucks onto the car. Okay, with the coupler on, we're going to glue the weight in. We're going to be spreading a little bit of Walter's goo, which is my preferred weight method for doing this, onto the weight, and onto the bottom of the car. And as you can see, you want to be careful because it will get everywhere if you're not. Once it's applied, I'll use a toothpick to kind of spread it out because we just want a thin layer across here. And the weight is going to cover most of the base of the car. And we're going to do the same thing on the weight. And then we're going to set this aside and let it dry. We want to give this a good couple of minutes so that all the solvent has evaporated from the glue. Once that's done, we'll be able to stick these together and it will be a permanent bond. I'll come back when these are dry. Okay, now that we've had the glue has had time to dry, we're going to very carefully position and hold this above the car. We want to make sure that the weight is centered on the car, both vertically, left to right and top to bottom, and then just press it in place. Okay, it has been 24 hours, which has given the glue used to hold the weight on plenty of time to dry. I measured the car length and it comes out as 5.5 inches long, and its current weight with the underframe and shell is 3.5 ounces. Based on NMRA standards of a 1/2 ounce per inch of length plus 1 ounce, the car should weigh 3.75 ounces. To bring it up, I'm going to use these 1/4 inch hex nuts that each weigh about 1/10 of an ounce. This will bring me up to 3.8, which is going to be about as close as I'm going to get. I could go to 3.7 or 3.8. I'm going to go with the slightly heavier weight because I think it comes in handy. Now I want to position these nuts so that they're centered over the trucks, or as close to it as I can on each side, and then one in the middle. This keeps the weight distributed evenly. And we're just going to apply a little bit to the bottom of the nut, and then we're going to set it in place in this case, and then we're going to pull the nut away and snag whatever extras there and just kind of make sure it's spread out on the nut. And then we'll set the nut down on our work surface, and just like we did with the metal weight, we're going to let everything dry up so that the solvent is dried off. Do the same thing with the other, doing the same thing with the other 2 nuts. Okay, the 2 minutes has passed, so we're just going to take the nut and very carefully position it back on the car weight. And if there's any extra floating around, we just want to kind of scrape it off, just so it doesn't get in the way when we put the body on. I'm going to let this sit for 24 hours so that all the fumes can dissipate and the glue can set completely. Once that's done, we'll put the body shell on, add some final detailing, and weather the car, and it will be ready to put on the railroad. Hi, welcome back. Now that the glue has dried on the weight, we can do final assembly of the car. And we want to look and see which way the brake cylinder is pointing. It's pointing this end, so this is the B end of the car. So we look at the shell and we can see the brake stand is here. Now I still need to add a brake wheel housing in here, which I will be doing. But the stand for it is there, so we're going to just insert the shell, and we might need to just give it a little bit of a pull on the sides just to get it to seat in properly. And a careful check shows that it's seated properly, and the car is now fully assembled. The only thing left to do is to add weathering. My favorite weathering medium is pan pastels. So with the card, and I use a dry brush technique. So I'm going to rearrange things a little bit. I have a number of colors. I'm going to start with a burnt cyan tint, which is a very light off-white beige type thing, and I'm just using a sponge, and then I'm rubbing off most of it onto a paper towel. It looks like there's some other colors here. And then just going to streak it down the sides a little bit because I want to fade the yellow. And then do the same thing on the other side. On the ends, I'm going to do the same thing, just to give it a little bit of fading. And finally, the roof's going to get a little fading as well. I'm going to use a little bit of light gray along the running boards. And again, I'm going to wipe off most of it, just to make it look like some of the paint has worn off as people have walked up and down the running boards. We're going to use some light rust color here. And this is a burnt sienna. Again, we're going to lighten off, and we're just going to tap it on the hinges and the latches of the icing platform of the ice bunker entrances. And again, a little bit of light. You can streak it down the ends and down the sides, right where the water would have flowed from melting ice. Then we're going to take a little bit of grime and add it to the trucks and just along the base here. And this is a burnt sienna shade is the name of the color. Just some splatter from the trucks and a little bit on the truck side frames. The nice thing about this is it binds really well to a matte surface, and the Accurail cars have a great surface for that. maybe take a little bit of dark rust color. This is red iron oxide shade, and just add it along the door hardware. Again, where water might have dripped down. We can use the tip of the triangular shaped thing to add streaks of rust down the side. And again on this side. You can use a little bit of light gray along the ladders and the grab irons, and just barely touching it, just to highlight them a little bit. It's a very quick job weathering it, but you end up with a nice looking car. You can still read the reporting marks, which is good if you're into operations. But it looks like the car has seen its service. With this, the car is ready to be put on the railroad and start serving the local breweries. Okay, that wraps things up for this car. I hope you've enjoyed watching me assemble and weather it. If you did enjoy this content, please make sure you give the video a big thumbs up. Don't forget to subscribe and turn on notifications so you don't miss my next update. And if you have anything you'd like to see me do, please leave a message in the comments and let me know if there's a project you'd like to see me work on. Or if you have any suggestions or ideas on how you might do things differently, by all means, let me know. The great thing about this hobby is the diversity and the way we can do things in different manners. And the key is find the methods that work for you. What works well for me may not give you the same results. I like to work, for example, when I'm weathering, I like to use the pan pastels. Other people like to use the artist oils. Others like to work with acrylic. Others like to use weathering solutions. And some people use a combination of all of them. But you have to find what works for you. So stay tuned to the channel, and I will have a next video up shortly.